We all need a little downtime, but have you ever taken a spiritual retreat? Letitia Suk is a certified life coach who says every woman needs to get away with God. But does that mean we literally book a trip to be with him? We're going to find out in just a moment. Welcome to the Harvest Show, Letitia.
Thank you.
Okay, so what does that mean? Does it mean to take a spiritual retreat? I mean, I thought I was taking a spiritual retreat. Actually, every time I would have devotion or something like that, and I would focus on God. But you're saying there's more to it.
There is more to it.
Okay.
Many women, and men too, the book is targeted to women, but all the principles apply to men as well. We are desperate for more time alone with God, and often we think, oh, if I can get up just a little bit earlier, maybe I can squeeze something else in.
That's exactly
yes,
right. That's exactly
and how long
what
does
I
that
say.
work, right?
So you're saying that it takes more, and what are we to do? What are you hoping women will accomplish once they book this spiritual retreat?
If you've ever taken a getaway with a spouse or a family member or a girlfriend or anything like that, you are familiar with the takeaways from doing that kind of thing. So getting away with God is that opportunity to really plug in for a deeper rest. I use the analogy of plugging in like you plug in your cell phone every night. Our soul needs a long recharge.
And what do you recommend, or what options are there? Are you talking like 7-day, 5-day, 3-day, 1-day retreat?
Half day.
Half day?
Work with what you've got. So everyone has a different time availability that they can take, and especially if you're first starting out with oh, I think I want to try this, but I can't do a whole day. Well, then, what can you do?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And the importance is, though, to actually book it, to
book
make it on,
and
put it on your calendar.
yes, and to actually get away, to leave your own home for someplace else.
So is there a way to prepare for it? Like, should we fast and pray before the retreat? I mean, how do we prepare for this retreat that we're going to have with God?
Well, you could fast. You can certainly pray, and I think approaching it like you would other aspects of your spiritual life. What does it take for you to have that connection with God? And for some people, it does involve fasting. I don't think I've ever fasted on a personal retreat, although many have. It is asking Him. I feel like you're responding to an invitation from God to come away, and so He will have a plan for you of how to do that, and He will show you.
And Letitia, in your life and in the lives of others that you talk with and meet, what is the impact of these kinds of retreats been? What has it meant to you? How have you seen it really influence the lives of others?
You come away from spending that intense, that intimate time with God for however long you can get away, and usually the results are on the line of redefining a life purpose, a real clarity of vision. I feel when I come away that all those knots of our unsolved things in our life we carry around get loosened at least, and sometimes untied, and certainly to feel that overwhelming presence of God's love.
You've actually written a book called Getaway with God, Every Woman's Guide to Personal Retreat. So you've kind of taken the guesswork out for us women, you know, when we want to go on the spiritual retreat, how to do it, when to do it. What are some of the themes that you cover?
I cover just about anything that someone, like, how do you use the time? I have time templates in there for the woman that wants a lot of structure. Okay, do this first, and then do this, and then do this. I have packing lists, I have scriptures, I have prayers, I have optional exercises, details on how to find a place to go for a retreat. So I tried to think of any kind of question that might be under the FAQ section and get it in the book.
And imagine some might say, well, I'm going to get there and day one, okay, you know, now what? Now what do we do?
Well, it's good to think through that a little bit before you get there, but I think sometimes you just kind of land, and that's all you could do is just get there. And part of it is that leap of faith to trust that God is going to meet you there. If He invited you, He's going to meet you there, and He's going to show you what to do next. And
you know, that's so critical. I think that's the key to it all, the expectation that God will meet us where we, you know, during our spiritual retreat. What have you found? I mean, what is God saying? What does He typically say to us during a retreat? And I know we're all individuals, but is there a common theme?
I love you just the way you are.
Okay.
That you don't have to You don't have to go through any kind of, God may take us through a transformation, but we don't have to, do the transformation ourselves first so that we can come to God. And that is usually the takeaway for everyone. Oh my gosh, I'm so loved by God that I'm of so much value to Him.
In your practice of these retreats and getting others to do likewise, what are some of the common concerns that maybe you've seen arise from men, from women, when it comes to taking this step?
I think a common concern is one that I certainly had initially is, oh my gosh, am I spiritual enough to do this? How am I going to use my time? Do I have to pray the whole time? Do I need to fast? Do I need to have silence? And all of those kind of questions, because it is a bit of an unknown that most of us, aren't familiar with this until we actually do it. So those are some of the concerns: the fear of the unknown, the fear of filling the time.
When I read this, the first thing I thought of, when I was raising my daughter, I was a single mom. I've never been married, so, my daughter had to go everywhere with me. So what about those mothers who have no other option but to take their kids with them?
And hopefully it would work out that there could be a family member or another friend, especially if you have a girlfriend that, oh, I'd like to do that too. Okay, I'll take your kids so you can go, and you take my kids so I can go.
Good point.
We work those things out for other areas of our life.
So we can, and moms, we tend to just put off whatever benefits us. We put other things first. You also talk about fears. You say that people have fears. What would you say is the number one fear in planning a spiritual retreat?
What if I go to all this trouble and nothing happens?
Okay.
Yes.
At least you've gotten a day away.
Yeah.
A couple of days away.
So I encourage women to focus on the experience, not necessarily the results. Well, there will be results, but you can't keep looking all the time. Okay, what are the results? What's going on? What's happening? But to enter into
the experience itself.
The experience
is the
itself.
fulfilling and the important and impactful
yes,
part.
and there will be takeaway, but it's very hard to experience and process at the same time.
So basic kind of guidelines is, you said, get out of your house, right? Be alone. So this is not necessarily a group activity, what you're advocating. And I'd imagine there are others, like, make sure your cell phone is off and you don't bring no internet connection or things like that. How important are some of the basics?
Well, I do encourage women to go away alone, but not everyone is ready to do that or wants to do that. So you can do a tandem personal retreat, and I actually lead small groups of about 10 women at a time. I have one coming up this weekend to go to a local retreat center where they are mostly on their own, but I touch base with them now and then to, in your next few hours, you might want to consider doing this. So it gets them in the door, and whatever gets you in the door.
Okay, so returning home, what advice do you have for that?
To commit that all to Jesus before you leave. Okay, I'm going back home. And you may walk into all kinds of chaos when you go back home. But to trust that He knows that chaos is waiting for you, and He will prepare you to get back into it. And it's so much comes back to just trusting Him for the whole picture.
During my quiet time this morning, I read the book of Mark where we see where the word of God is being spread like on stony ground and in good ground, and how the seed will take form, or the enemy will come and choke the seed. I mean, should we be aware of that the enemy may come and try to take what we experienced during this spiritual retreat? How do you prepare women to protect themselves?
To recognize that it's likely going to happen.
Okay.
That there will be some kind of spiritual counterattack to you taking this time away, and even just being aware of it and looking for it, so that you're ready, that you can be ready to, as the word says, resist the enemy, and he will flee.
Well, before we let you go on your next spiritual retreat, what's the takeaway of Getaway with God, the Every Woman's Guide to Personal Retreat?
That this is an opportunity to enter into that presence of God that is not like anything else you've experienced before, and wonderful things await you in that time. I can't promise you exactly what they'll be for you, but I can assure you that when we get alone with God, things happen.
Well, I'm going to book mine very soon. To connect with Letitia, go to letitiasuk.com or go to harvest-tv.com for a link to her new project. It's called Getaway with God. Still to come, Brian Bush with the latest news making headlines in the Middle East.